everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Our invocation this morning will be led by Marty Johnston.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and most honored and welcome guests. This morning, we are fortunate to be here at AM Lockport and to have our health.
Yeah.
Good Lord, help us to continue to hone our communication and leadership skills this morning. And help us to reach out to others and bring them as guests in order for them to see the benefits that Toastmasters may offer them. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Good day, everyone.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
Republic
for which it stands,
stands
One
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Good morning.
Morning.
Happy Thursday. Good to see you all. I would like to welcome our guests this morning, David Jones from Queen City. Good morning, David. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, Eric.
And our returning guest, Chris Lloyd Davison. Chris, from all the way from London, England. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you again for joining us. Are there any announcements this morning? Larry?
Next Sunday, which will be November 8th, or no, not next, the Sunday after. Well, November 8th, we will be having a chicken barbecue for a cure for the Hydrocephalus Association. And it will be held at the Knights of Columbus on Erie Avenue, 755 Erie Avenue in North Tonawanda from 11 till 3. And it's to support the Hydrocephalus Association. And Widener's will be doing our chicken barbecue. Widener's is the people that have been at the Erie County Fair for 100 years or close to it. So you're more than welcome. I do have tickets if anyone's available. I would like to enjoy a chicken dinner. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you so much, Larry. Are there any?
I do have one quick announcement, Eric.
All right.
I put up in the chat, I'm looking for a youth leadership program kit. I don't know if Len has any in inventory or anyone else. Just let me know if you do. I'd be interested in buying one. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marty. Tom?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. We had a meeting yesterday of the DECA program at the high school, which went very well. They're improving every week. One thing that stood out in particular to me, we had a speaker yesterday, and he had lined his speech up on his laptop. At the very top, he had everybody's picture at the bottom, and he had his speech at the very top where the camera is on the laptop. And I thought that was quite clever because you could not tell that it was an icebreaker speech, and it's permitted to read an icebreaker. I mean, you're just starting out, but I thought that was very cleverly done. And I commented on how creative that was. So they're not only learning things, but I am as well. So just my report.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yep.
I have something.
Go ahead, Joe.
Saturday night, Halloween. If you're not doing anything and you feel like venturing to Wilson, our haunted cemetery crypt dungeon is open to the public from 4 to 9. And donations go to Celebrate Wilson, which does all the flowers and beautification in the village. So that's that.
Thank
I
you.
will put the flyer up I'll send an email out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jill. Are there any announcements? All right. Well, I'll turn things over to our Toastmaster of the day, Sylvia Baptiste. Sylvia, the floor is yours.
Morning. Paying tribute to a loved one is a great opportunity for us to share a happy memory, a moment, and reflect and help us heal through the times that they have passed. So this morning, I'd like to dedicate this meeting to everyone who has passed us, friends and family, too early. Please raise your cup and have a toast.
Here.
Welcome to the Day of the Dead. And I'm going to batch this up, so my Spanish is awful. Who's from Mexico here? Anyone? We did have a guest one time that he could have helped me with this. De los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is a Mexican holiday that the deceased relatives come for a brief reunion to visit their families, and food and drinks and a celebration is done. This starts at midnight at Halloween, the October 31st. The gates of heaven opens up with the children who have passed, and they are allowed to rejoin their families for 24 hours. Also, that is known as All Saints Day in our Catholic religion. November 2nd is All Souls Day and the Day of the Dead. And then the adults could come back. And here you could have the food again, the celebration, the drinks at the graves. And the lights, candles are placed to illuminate the souls back to earth. In medieval times, people would bring wine and spirit bread to the graves of their loved ones on All Souls Day and cover the graves with the flowers, the marigold flowers. Lit candles, like I said, to illuminate the souls back to earth. In the 16th century, the Spanish conquerors brought this tradition to the New World, along with the dark view of death during the plague. So at this time, I would like to start with our word master. Margot, what word do you have for us this morning?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for choosing a theme early so I could get a word early. We've had an exciting week here at the winery. My youngest had an emergency appendectomy, so I've been sort of all over. So it's a good thing I had a word early. Since you chose a Spanish type theme, I chose a Spanish type word. So if everybody could look at Kate Banks's background, you will see she has a number of skulls there. The Spanish word is calavera. And those are the skulls that they would paint, and there you go, and decorate. A little one is a calaverita. So the word of the day is calavera, which means skull. Oh, and Jen too is jumping in there. Great. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Calavera. We'll talk about those in a few minutes too. Our master, Tom Moran, will be toddling up the ahs and probably so's for Edna. Can't forget Edna here.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I will be listening very carefully for ahs, pregnant pauses, things that might throw a person off or create a space where that person can think, but using a word in there to accommodate that blank space. I'm not really sure of the definition of calavera, so I don't quite know how to use it yet, but I'll try to use it in my future when I give a report. I am noticing a theme here. Last week's theme was zombies. This week is the Day of the Dead. I can hardly wait until next week's meeting. That's what I'll be doing, Madam Toastmaster, and I'll report when you call on me.
Thank you. Today, quote master, Steve Smith.
Okay. During the day, I don't believe in ghosts. At night, I'm a little more open-minded, unknown. Believe nothing you hear and only one half of what you see. Edgar Allan Poe. I have one more. I was born on the night of Samhain, when the barrier between the worlds is whisper thin, and when magic, old magic, sings this heady and sweet song to anyone who cares to hear it. Carolyn McDonough, once a witch.
Okay. Gerald Stevens, do you have a humorous jester for us?
Oh, do I? I have a few for you guys today from my Calavera. Why did the Headless Horseman get a job? He was trying to get ahead in life. Boo. The skeleton couldn't help being afraid of the storm. He just didn't have any guts. Boo, number 2. This is for all the readers out there. Why is a cemetery a great place to write a story? Because there are so many plots there. Jackie liked that one. Yeah, I got one at least. The skeleton knew what would happen next in the movie. He could feel it in his bones. That's all I have for you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay. Grammarian this morning is Mike Licata. How are we doing so far, Mike?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests this morning. We're actually doing pretty well between using the word Calavera and everything else. I will also look for poor uses of the English language along with keeping track of a lot of the good uses of the English language in our meeting today. Thank you.
And then we have Charles Deakins as our jester master.
I'll be watching as the speakers speak to see whether they make any movements with their hands or head or whoever. I'll report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Quiz master this morning is Thomas. There he is. Hi, Thomas. Tell us what you'll be doing today.
Good morning. I will be listening carefully throughout the entire meeting, trying to come up with a nice little quiz so that everyone will pay attention throughout the meeting this morning. That would be my chimera. Thank you.
Hey, timer today, Eric.
Madam Toastmaster, thank you very much. Good morning again to one and all. I'll be your timer this morning with table topics from 1.5 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. Prepared speeches, 5 to 7 minutes with a 30-second buffer. And our speech evaluations will be 2 to 3 minutes with a 15-second buffer. And I will report throughout the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, and our very important role today is the general evaluator. Dave Licata will be evaluating the meeting. Dave, tell us a little more.
It is the job of the general evaluator to evaluate the Toastmaster of the day and the evaluators. So if we have 3 evaluators and we already have a Toastmasters, I will be giving 4 reports. Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster.
You're welcome. So let's start with table topics. Anne Marie is our table topics master this morning. Anne Marie.
Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to see your smiling faces. I miss you when I can't make the meeting. It's really a highlight in my day. There's never a day when I go to Toastmasters and don't feel really exhilarated when I leave. So it's a very important club for sure. In this tumultuous time, the politics and the pandemic, it's just overwhelming in terms of loss. And it's so emotional. I feel like spitting up blood, which is appropriate because it's almost Halloween. Anyway, fall actually is my very special season. And it's a passage from the warmth of summer and the crispy cold of the winter weather, especially in Buffalo. But October in particular is such a unique transition month with all the beautiful leaves, even though it's such a tumultuous time that you see around cider, cinnamon apples, and celebration of Halloween. So, memorable fall events. Let's see, Len Thornton, do you have a job? No? Oh, this is your lucky day. Memorable events. To me in October, one of the most memorable events was the birth of my first son, Clayton Joseph. We lived in Pittsburgh at the time, and my dad, who has been deceased now for about 10 years, who loves to garden, came down and planted a pumpkin patch. So when my son was born, we had these beautiful pumpkins all over the place, and it's a memory that I happily go back to every October. So Len, if you could please share with us a memorable fall event that has really touched your heart.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. There are many events this October for me. Both my sons were born in October, so we have those birthdays. And with them being away at college, ferreting them back here for the celebration is a bit of a logistic challenge, especially in the days of COVID. My girlfriend's birthday is also this month, so I got the trifecta going there, and she's 300 miles away. So having survived all those, I find myself now in the position of having to carve my pumpkin. I have not done that yet. I have a good size one. It's about 1 foot in diameter. I really can't go for the traditional calavera today. The events of the day just scream that I have to do a bat, okay? Especially since I had a minor infestation in my house to deal with a few months back, 5 total that were trying to inhabit the same space as me. So I started pulling down some designs. I've yet to print one out and create a stencil for it, but it will be a bat. This is definitely the year of the bat. How coincidental would that be if this was indeed the Chinese year of the bat? Do they have one of those? I'm not even sure. But I do like to do something intricate and refine my skills year after year, always doing something to supersede last year's efforts. We won't have the tradition of all carving together at my sister's house or in my backyard as we have in the past because of COVID. So I'll be carving on my own tonight. Maybe I'll do it, no, I can't do it during happy hour. I have bowling tonight. This whole year is just such a mess. I think I'm about at time here, so I'm going to wrap it up. Madam Topic Master.
Thank you, Len Thornton. So rituals and traditions are very important in our lives. They give us a sense of meaning. And this is such a special day, the Day of the Dead. Again, a Latin American holiday welcoming back the souls of the deceased with many festivals. So Larry McKenzie, do you have a job? You're good? All right, so this is your lucky day too. Congratulations.
I do have a job. I'm an evaluator.
Oh, you are? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. How about Jackie Kenny? You have a job?
I do not have a job.
Oh, congratulations. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sylvia said this Day of the Dead lasts from October 31st to November the 2nd. And according to traditions, as she mentioned, the gates of heaven open at midnight on October 31st. And the spirits come to rejoin their families. So, Jackie, do you believe in this ritual? If not, please share some of the experiences that you have with traditions and rituals that honor the dead. Jackie Kenny.
Well, thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I'm going to jump back to your memorable occasion question and tell you about the most memorable October I ever had. It is my favorite time of year. Kevin was out to sea during his tour of duty in the Navy and scheduled to come back in September. So we planned our wedding for October. Well, the Atlantic didn't cooperate and his tour ended up being extended. He got back into the country just in time to hitchhike to Washington to his sister's apartment. She drove him up. We met just in time to get our license at City Hall 3 days before our wedding. So that became probably my most memorable October ever. Although I do honor the experiences of sharing the Day of the Dead and what we do to honor our families, I can't imagine how I could work the word calavera in, but it's there. I do go to the cemetery, and I found that a family who have members buried near my family have a celebration every Memorial Day. They bring food and have a picnic and gather around the beautiful Celtic cross that they have there. It's probably 8 feet tall and gorgeous, and they bring lawn furniture and sit around and have a picnic and honor their dead, which I think is wonderful. Thank you, Madam Topics Master.
Hey, Jackie, very good. Thank you very much. So third and last, the topic is entertaining fall movies. And let's see, Katie Banks, do you have a job?
I don't, but neither does our guest. And I know there are movies in the UK. May I punt my offer to Chris? Has he spoken yet for Table Topics with us?
Let's see, Chris Lloyd, are you there? Oh, I see you. Would you like to respond to my question?
Sure.
Okay. So the other night I was watching an interesting Disney movie called Coco, C-O-C-O, with my granddaughter Tessa. The movie's about the celebration, of course, of the Day of the Dead, as a time when their ancestors come to visit our families, and a beautiful celebration with food, drink, dancing, parties. So Chris Lloyd, please share with us your reaction to this Disney movie, or if you're not familiar with it, just your reaction to any favorite Disney movie.
Thank you for the question, Madam Topics Master, and thank you, Kate, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. It's most appreciated. I can't really answer this question in its organic form, because when I think of Halloween, I think of a really scary time, and this is the time of year I watch really scary movies, and so my mind is not pivoted right now towards Disney movies at all. I'm thinking of the first ever genuinely really scary, messed up movie I ever watched, and it was actually around Halloween, and it was probably about 2004, 2005, and that was The Ring, and that was the American remake, not the Japanese original from the 90s. I watched that just before I turned into a teenager, and that genuinely really, really scared me, and it scared my friend, and it scared my friend so much he threw up in the middle of the night. It is a horrible film. It is genuinely one of the most disturbing films I've ever met. And talking about the Day of the Dead, it's that final scene when Samara Morgan, she actually comes out of the TV screen and then reveals her face. I had that image in my head for about 2 weeks afterwards. It is whoever directed that film, whoever did the special effects for that film, made it as disgusting and as scary and as lifelike as they could possibly make it. And yes, it had quite a profound impact on me, because my older sister would always say, oh, it's not as scary as Shining. It's not as scary as Jaws. I disagree. I really disagree. It's horrible, and everybody should watch it because it's so horrible and so Halloween-y, but it's not Halloween-y, it's just scary and disgusting. And that was probably the movie that put me off watching scary movies for a very, very, very long time indeed. So if this Halloween you are actually wanting to jump out of your seat and hide behind the sofa because you just can't bear what is about to happen, I can absolutely and strongly, thoroughly recommend The Ring as your Halloween viewing for 2020. Thank you very much, Madam Topics Master.
Chris, have you ever seen a calavera?
I don't know what that is.
Well, you need to use the word of the day.
We didn't tell him that, so that's our fault. Calavera, use it somehow.
I don't know what it means. I'll pass. It's okay. I don't mind.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. So Madam Toastmaster Sylvia, back to you.
I have to unmute myself here. So the word calavera, how did it go, Margot?
Thank you for this opportunity. Len used it, Jackie used it. I love how creative Jackie got with it because she didn't know how to use it. The word calavera, Chris, means skull. Since our theme was Day of the Dead, it is the Spanish word for skull. So it is up to the Madam Toastmaster, since he is a guest, whether or not he would be given credit for it. But that's my report for now.
We're going to give him a credit today for it.
All right.
And timer, Eric, how did the time go?
Madam Toastmaster, all of our 3 table topics contestants qualify. Len at 2:01, Jackie at 2:07, and Chris at 2:02. So everybody qualifies.
Great, great. Please cast your vote. And doing my same thing. And as we were saying, calavera, the skull, painted skulls, they are originally skull-shaped hard candy ornaments that was made. They're not meant to be eaten. And as we heard earlier, the smaller the calavera is, it's the representation of children who have passed, and the larger would be, of course, adults. So there's many different sizes. And there's also an altar that we didn't talk about. They would put these on altars. They would have marigolds, as I said, it was the flower of Day of the Dead. Those were on the altar also on the graves. Candles, many different foods of the deceased that they loved to drink. Also, if they smoked, pack of cigarettes or cigars, whatever they did. And it was just a big celebration. It was a happy time. It's not to be made out to be so doom and gloom and scary as it is. Some people think it is. So we're going to start with our first evaluator today. And he has a special job because, David, thank you for volunteering to step up into a speaking role. I'm glad to see that, our guest. So Larry, would you introduce our next speaker?
Thank you. This morning, I have the pleasure of evaluating our guest speaker, David Jones. David will be speaking from the Engaging Humor Level 1, and it's a research speech, and the title is Journey of a 1903 Penny. And where has the penny gone? Where was it purchased, and how did he get it? David Jones, Journey of a 1903 Penny. David Jones.
What's the time?
5 to 7.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evaluator. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This is my 1903 Indian head penny. I know it's hard to see on Zoom, and if you could see it, you'd probably think it's really worn out, beaten up, and it's a little chewed up. And my question is, what are you going to look like when you're 117 years old? Probably just like this. Now, in 1903, North Carolina got its claim to fame. It was December 17th, 1903, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The Wright brothers, first in flight, says so right on our license plates. And whenever I get something this old and so common, I wonder what its story is. What's its journey? Did it go around the world? Did it stay here in America? Who had it? What was it used to purchase? And how did I get it? Fortunately for us, I know the exact story and journey of this very penny. In 1903, it started in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at the U.S. Mint where it was made. And it eventually made its way to Hershey, Pennsylvania at the Hershey factory. In 1903, a chocolate bar cost 2 pennies. Somebody used this exact penny and another penny to buy the chocolate bar. And this went into the cash register and then eventually into the company safe. Because in 1903, they didn't have direct deposit. They didn't write you checks. There's no debit cards. On payday, you went to the payroll department and got your money, put it in your pocket, and headed down the road. Also in 1903, the average salary for an American was $6 a week, just over $300 a year. And to think about it, on payday, you probably didn't have to do this. You could have just done one hand because it was only $6. And at the time, there was a young guy named Mikey. He worked at the Hershey factory and he had been saving up his money and In fact, he had this very penny, and he decided he wanted to take a trip with his girlfriend. So he talked to his girlfriend, ironically named Penny Sue. He said, Penny, I've been hearing about this place called Niagara Falls. Why don't we take a few days off and go visit it? And Penny's like, well, how far is it? And back then they didn't have cars. And he said, well, it's about a 28-hour bike ride from here. And she thought about it. And she said, well, it's 1903. We don't have radio. We don't have Nintendo. We don't have TVs, whatever those things are. So let's do it. And they took off on their bike and they got to Niagara Falls. And Mikey was really excited. He was beside himself. He's like, this is so beautiful and powerful and majestic. I can't believe what I'm seeing. And unfortunately, this is when Mikey finds out that Penny Sue is a little shallow, a bit of a negative Nancy. And she looks out over the falls and she's like, yeah, that's okay. Is this what we rode all the way here for? Is this place? Now in 1903, in Penny's defense, they didn't have the little tour boats that went up to the edge of the waterfalls with the people with their ponchos on going, I'm getting wet. They didn't have the casinos and hotels and restaurants. They didn't have the boardwalks. It was pretty much waterfalls and trees and waterfalls. That's all that was there. And Penny said to Mike, Mikey, come here. We need to talk. She said, I've been observing some things about you lately that are a little concerning for me. I don't know if we're a good connection or a match. I don't see this as a long-term relationship. I'm thinking we should end things now and go our separate ways. And actually, that's a conversation somebody recently gave me. Anyways, Penny said, I've been thinking about going to Times Square and becoming an actress on Broadway. And with that, she hopped on her bike and took the 41-hour bike ride to New York City. Meanwhile, Mikey's sad and depressed, and he's like, I can't believe she broke up with me. I'm never going to get another girlfriend. I make $6 a week. You can't get a girl with that. And back then, they didn't have Tinder or dating apps. And Mikey took my penny, put it in his pocket, and he jumped into the waterfall and killed himself. 66 years later, 1969, some US engineers did an engineering feat. They stopped the waterfall. They diverted the water. And for the first time in thousands, maybe millions of years, water didn't flow over the American side of the waterfall and it emptied out at the bottom. And I'm sure most of you know what they found down there. They found 2 bodies and millions of coins. And I'm pretty sure one of those bodies was Mikey's. And if you think about it logically, you have the engineers and workers down there surveying and checking out the falls, and there's millions of coins laying around. And I'm sure they were picking them up and putting them in their pockets and their socks and taking all these coins home. And the guy who picked up my penny, that weekend, his grandson came over, little Johnny. And he's like, Johnny, come here. I have something for you, Johnny. And Johnny comes over and he's like, here, Johnny, take this. Johnny's like, Grandpa, it's a penny. He goes, no, it's a special penny. It's magic. If you carry it with you always, it'll bring you good luck. It'll bring you financial success. It'll bring you career success. It's from 1903. I found it at the bottom of Niagara Falls. So make sure you always carry it with you. And Johnny did just that. He always carried this penny with him. And he finished college. He finished his graduate degree. He got into the banking industry and started moving up the corporate ladder. Eventually, he got a job promotion at Bank of America in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he continued his way up the ladder. And recently, Johnny was driving around getting some gas, and he was thinking about how lucky he is, how his life has been so grateful for him. So he pulled his penny out of his pocket, and he's like, thank you, Grandpa, for giving me this penny. I can't believe the life I have. I have a great family, a great career. Thank you for the guidance in this penny. And he put it in his pocket, but he missed. It fell on the ground. It was right there. He didn't hear it. He didn't see it. It's just laying there. And he drove off. I drove up behind him. I parked to get some gas. I looked down. There's a penny. I picked it up. Now it's mine. Thank you, Johnny. And thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you for that story. You know more about Niagara Falls than the people who live there. How nice. Our second evaluator, Jill, will be evaluating Tracy. Jill, tell us what Tracy will be talking about this morning.
Quite honestly, I don't have a clue.
Uh-oh.
She never sent me an evaluation form. Never, last time I checked, it was not on the agenda. So I don't have a clue what she's doing. I have a generic evaluation form here to fill out.
Okay, Tracy, you were here. Where are you? I don't see you.
I'm here. Can you see
Oh,
me?
there you are. There you are. Could you tell us about your speech this morning?
I can. It was placed on the agenda this morning. It is the I'm working out of the dynamic leadership path. It is level 2, and it is one of the electives, mentors. And I believe all of the evaluations are pretty much standard evaluations, so you can evaluate me on any of those.
What are the times? And Tracy's title this
5 to
morning,
7.
I do have that, is what the places our mentors go. And yes, it's 5 to 7 minutes, Eric. Tracy.
Thank you. Mentors. We all have them from the day we're born. It's how our parents behaved and treated us. Plays a big part in our development. It's how our friends helped us develop our choices that we make. And even in the workforce, how our employers taught us how to act and conduct ourselves in the workforce. In my current career, my first mentors were my parents. And at the time, I never knew it, and I probably never would have admitted it. But they owned a real estate business. And actually, our dinners consisted of them talking about real estate and me and my brother talking about who was going to get that last piece of pie and fighting over who had to eat their Brussels sprouts. I didn't like real estate. It consumed my parents' entire being and all of their time. And it was the most unglamorous job whatsoever. Instead, I was going to conquer New York City and the retail industry. And my first mentor at the time said, you will never make it. You're never going to make enough money to pay back those student loans that you have, let alone support yourself. And my mentor was right. After a few years, I came home, I got married, and it was time to start looking for another job. As I was doing that, I started working for my dad in real estate until I was actually able to find a job at the county in the real property tax services. And there, my director was Bill Budd, and he was a true mentor. But what made him really such a great mentor? I have to start off with, first, he was a consultant. He would take me aside every single week, and we would go over the projects I was working on and some of my professional work. It was a time where we stuck our calaveras together and really sorted things out. And I have to admit, he was probably one of the toughest mentors you will ever find. At Monday, 10 o'clock, every morning, I would have to pile on books and trudge into his office and sit down. He would go over everything that I was working on and sign off, and then push me out the door with even a bigger stack of projects to be doing for the week. He was my counselor. He was not shy about correcting my mistakes. He was an accountant by trade, and that means they are involved in the tiniest little details. You might ask, why did I have to bring in those books every Monday morning? It's because he would look at my work and make me prove to him why I came up with those solutions, and I had to prove to him why I was right. It was a good learning experience, and he wasn't afraid to let me fail. One of the reasons I joined Toastmasters was because at one time he assigned me the task of helping to teach the Board of Assessment Review members. And a lot of you have heard this story, but as I was doing the training, I was shy at the time, if you all remember, and way in the back of the room was an elderly gentleman saying every 5 minutes, I can't hear you, speak up, I can't hear you. Of course, my confidence plummeted to the floor. But It was my inspiration to join Toastmasters and overcome that obstacle. Often during our meetings, we would just sit and he would advise me how he would overcome a lot of his situations and discuss issues that he was going through. Finally, what makes him an excellent mentor is he was my biggest cheerleader. He witnessed a lot of my failed performances, but it didn't stop him from continuing to give me more. He was actually impressed that I took it upon myself to join Toastmasters and overcome that obstacle. And at times he would walk me through my mistakes and help me to get over them and ask me questions that I might be facing at the time. He once again gave me the project of teaching the Board of Assessment Review members. And when I was actually able to nail it on that speech that I gave, he gave me that approving smile, let me know that I nailed it. And that just would carry me on for weeks because I finally got his approval. And that's really what great mentors do. They motivate us and give us resources to achieve our goals. And this goes for everything in life. If our partners are holding us accountable for losing weight, if we're bouncing ideas off of our partners just to keep us in check and make sure their motivations are correct. And if we come here to Toastmasters to improve our leadership and communication skills every week. Because as Isaac Newton said, if I have seen further than others, it is because I stood on the shoulder of giants. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Tracy. Our third evaluator this morning, Samir. He will be evaluating Jen. Samir, could you tell us about Jen's speech?
Sure. Jen's speech is to focus on the positive. The purpose of it is to practice being aware of their thoughts and feelings and the impact of their responses on others. They should share their experience while completing the project after being aware of that. Her title is Time, the Great Outdoors, and the Magic of Eggs. The speech length is 2 to 3 minutes or 5 to 7 minutes. I'm guessing it's 5 to 7. And yeah, the title is Time, the Great Outdoors, and the Magic of Eggs. Thanks. Here's Jen.
Thank you. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Focus on the positive. Now, even during this meeting today, I noticed that many of us are having trouble doing so these days, and some of those reasons were even mentioned. I think probably all of us have at some point in the last 10 months gone down the rabbit hole of Facebook, the election cycle, some of the events that we've missed or had to forego this year, people that we haven't gotten to see. And those things can be very sad and depressing. And that's why I wanted to do this project. For me, I'm a person who likes to tick off boxes. I like to say all the things that I've done, and I like to have a very busy social calendar. If I don't have many plans, then I start to feel like I'm wasting my time. And so this year has been a little bit more difficult for me in that way, at least. I think for all of us, COVID has become a marker, what was before and what was after. And so I've started thinking about this in a more positive way. And part of this project was to keep a gratitude journal, which I have done before. And another part was to celebrate my achievements. Now, both of these things I have tried to do before, maybe with some success or not as much success as I would like. And so making this list and thinking about these things has really helped me to refocus what this year means. I think many of us are waiting for it to be over, but I don't think that this just ends. The change has come, and although some things may find some other normalcy, we all need to adjust, adapt, and change in different ways. So the gratitude journal helps you to be present, to think about right now, to refocus what your values are and what actually matters, because there are a lot of things that don't. Although we may have been missing some events, there are other ways that we're adapting. And this year, I'd like to share with you some of the things that have come for me positively. I actually received in the mail yesterday my patch for my 2020 Western New York Hiking Challenge. I got to spend so much more time outdoors this year. I've completed all 34 of the hikes in that challenge. In fact, I was looking through my little phone app that says how many steps I've taken this year, and I'm averaging a daily more than half a mile additional per day. That's over 200 extra miles that I've been walking this year compared to last year. And in terms of time, I'm no longer commuting to work, which means I'm saving 100 hours this year. 100 hours that I'm not in a car driving. Those are hours that I have time to do other things. And one of the things I've been doing with that time is reading. I've read 30% more books this year than I did last year. I looked at the library to see how many books I'd taken out and compared it, and I thought that was kind of impressive. I might make 100 books this year. Maybe not. We'll see. I still have some time left. So it's an achievement I'll try to go for, because I do like to tick off those lists still. Now I've gotten to reconnect with some friends who are further away because Zoom has become a lot more popular. I've gotten to spend time with family, and although I'm not seeing my niece and nephew as often as I'd like, we've started doing a Sunday afternoon Zoom game time. So that's been fun, putting that into our rotation and coming up with these additional new things that we're doing, new traditions, new ways of connecting. I think the present is really the thing that I've gotten the most. Being present for people when I'm with them instead of focusing on what I have to do next or rushing from one thing to another. All of that time has given me that ability to do it. I actually got 2 compliments this year that are things that I think I'm terrible at. And one of them was that I was a really good listener. And the other one was that I was resilient. Now, those are things that I particularly find myself not thinking about myself, and getting those compliments from someone else, that meant a lot. I thought, wow, maybe I'm really improving and becoming a better person. Now, finally, I want to share with you the magic of eggs, because that was one of the things I wrote down in my gratitude journal this week. I was baking. I made some creme brulee, and I made these cupcakes that have this meringue frosting on them. And when I was doing it, I was thinking how magical eggs are. And I thought about the first person who discovered that if you separate an egg into whites and yolks, you can make a meringue and a custard. And I thought about, how does one actually discover this? Because I don't think they had a busy social calendar. And I'm pretty sure they weren't particularly hungry, because they would not have taken all that time to make that meringue or to bake up a custard into a little tiny pot. So how does one take time to be creative, to do something that seems kind of useless until you've tasted the creme brulee and until you have had the pleasure of eating the meringue? This year, being present, taking time, refocusing are the things that I'm grateful for. And finally, I'd like to share with you a quote that has come up for me multiple times this week, so I thought it was apropos to do so. There is pleasure in the pathless woods. Fellow Toastmasters, may you find pleasure in the pathless woods of COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Eric, how did our speakers do with time?
Madam Toastmaster, all of our three speakers do qualify. David Jones at 6:26, Tracy at 5:44, and Jen at 6:58. So all of our speakers qualify, and I thank Len and Larry for giving me a hand with the timer lights, since I don't have a background for that, and my props are just plain dull. So thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Eric. So please cast your vote for either David, Tracy, and Jen. Where is our thing? I'm going to go right to the evaluations. Larry McKenzie, please evaluate David. Tell us about him.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Today, I had the pleasure of listening to David Jones' speech, as all of us did. And David is a guest, and sometimes when a guest is giving a speech at a new club or somewhere, they might seem like they're maybe apprehensive or nervous. I didn't see that at all in David's speech. He stood up to do his entire speech, which was great. He also gave us the ability today to learn a little bit about a 1903 Indian head penny. One of the things I've always enjoyed is the story of pennies from heaven. Today, David gave us his story of a 1903 penny and his idea of the journey that penny took. He captivated us and pulled us in with the story. He told us a little bit about how it went to Hershey and how you could purchase a candy bar for 2 cents. He had me at that. I was like, oh, great, I'm in. And one of the things that I noticed when he said that the people back then would earn $6 a week. So Mikey earned $6 a week and he had both hands out. And I was thinking to myself, you wouldn't really need both hands. And then he went back to that and he said the same thing. So we were on the same mind thought there. And I thought that was great how you used your gestures and how you were doing the portions of your speech where you just kept drawing us back in. One of the things that I would say during your story, when you were telling us about Mikey and Penny Sue, when they went to Niagara Falls and when it all dried up, which I have the picture of it back here from 1969. And you mentioned how a portion of that where they broke up. And then I caught it. I don't know if everyone else did, but you said, oh, wait, that was someone saying that to me. Well, at that point, maybe a little bit of a pause, because I know you were looking at using this perhaps as one of the humorous speeches. So whenever you're giving a humorous speech, if you give a line within the speech where you are looking for that laughter or that audience participation part, incorporate a slight pause there and give the audience that time to grab that before you go right into your next portion of your speech. One of the things that I enjoyed most too was the fact that during your speech, you had great eye contact with your camera using the Zoom format. One of the things that I would say too, though, is to maybe incorporate a little more of your facial expressions when you're emphasizing those little zingers or when you're talking about Mikey and Penny Sue. All in all, I thought you did a wonderful job. And I appreciate you coming to AM Lockport to give your speech today. And one of the things that I would say is that perhaps at your ending, to work on that ending portion, if you're going to use that as a competition speech, and kind of use something to grab it with a more powerful closing at the end. All in all, great speech. Thank you for presenting it again at AM Lockport. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Larry. Our second evaluator, Jill, is going to evaluate Tracy this morning. Jill?
Good morning, everybody, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Tracy. Your speech this morning was incredibly interesting to me. My mother was the assessor in Wilson for about 7 or 8 years. So I'm familiar with the challenges. And she did work with Bill Budd when he was in office up there too. You had an excellent opening and closing. You had vocal variety. You made your story interesting. However, I found that you were frequently looking down at your notes. Maybe in the future you could somehow find a way, if you have to put the notes up there on top of the screen or something like that, so that you're not so obviously looking down. Also, I know it must be some way convenient for people. I haven't tried it myself using headphones in the microphone, but that makes your speech very flat in a way. It was hard to create gesturing and facial expressions because of it. But your story was so interesting, and you had so many good descriptives for all of the things that you were talking about, like bringing in the piles of books for Bill Budd to look at, and probably criticize you some, although you didn't say that. Give you suggestions of how to make them better. It was just things like that you made it interesting. The one thing I can suggest, one other thing I can suggest is get your information up earlier. Putting it up this morning is a little tough on your evaluator, especially when we are meeting this early in the morning. I took the time to print out the generic evaluation form this morning, but I didn't take the time to look at the agenda and see if you had actually done that. But all in mind, it was an excellent descriptive speech that you gave us today about your mentor, Bill Budd. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Jill. And the third evaluator this morning is Zamir. How did Jen do today?
Jen gave a great speech today. I thought it had a great intro relating her topic to our current situation with the pandemic. I thought she did a good job of focusing on the positive within her speech, using facts and figures. I'm not sure whether or not she has a smartwatch or something, but it's interesting to say, oh, I read 30% more books, or I walked 30% more miles. That was a really good use of an example and actual data to say, hey, I am improving, and illustrate the effectiveness of doing something like using a gratitude journal. I thought that the time is definitely a function of how you spend it, and she gave us all great examples of how to turn any kind of negative situation, like maybe having to avoid public gatherings, into a positive. I thought that maybe there were a few awkward pauses she could have worked on, and the end of a few sentences seemed perhaps not the traditional way of ending them because of the tone, but those were really minor things. So maybe a practice run could have smoothed those out, or another round of practice. But I think overall it was a very good speech. In terms of a challenge that she could have given herself, maybe going into a little more detail if there's time, and using props or pics or some type of visual aid in this Zoom format. That would have been another way to turn a limited format into a positive, because it's easier to show a picture as a background here than it is to hand it around Tom Steiner. But overall, it was a very good speech. The example of eggs and custard and the meringue, and how such discoveries are kind of a function of having more time, was really good. That's something previously most of us didn't have maybe in our harried modern lives. And I think overall it was just an excellent speech that had lessons applicable to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. Eric, one last time. How's everybody doing?
Madam Toastmaster, 2 out of the 3 evaluators qualified. Larry McKenzie went a bit over with 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Jill at 2 minutes and 53 seconds, and Samir at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, would everyone please cast their vote for either Jill or Samir, who qualified in time? And I'm gonna,
I had Larry at 2:35.
oh,
You sure about that?
okay.
Huh?
Let's do
Yeah, he didn't sound like he went over.
Yeah.
all 3.
Eric, I had Larry at 2:35, not 3:35. Is it possible you skipped a digit there?
No, I didn't.
Hmm.
That's weird.
I know I started like 15 seconds late, and then I was adding that to the times, but I gave him lights at that for 2 and 2:30.
Okay, so all 3 would qualify, and we will be able to vote for all 3, Larry, Jill, or Samir. Please submit your vote. A little bit that we talked about earlier in table topics was the movies. Inspired by the 2015 James Bond movie, Eric, you'll like this, Spectre, which featured a large Day of the Dead parade. Mexico City held its first ever parade and a holiday in 2016. In 2017, a number of major US cities, including Chicago, LA, San Antonio, Fort Lauderdale, did Dead of the Days parades. Of course, that year in November, Disney and Pixar films released the blockbuster Coco, as Anne-Marie has talked about. It was a $175 million income for Disney, and they did it on the tradition of a little boy is transported to a land of the dead, meets up with his long lost ancestors. Now, if you notice, because of Disney, every store you go into has skulls. Oh, Margot, our word of the day, has these little hard candy, but this one's a stress ball. And you'll see them all over people's desks at work. I know one of my coworkers has many of them. And as Kate sees in her bedroom, she has many also. And I think that has a lot to do with Disney. I do tease my family. We got to warp humor. Yeah, at times it's family. And I kid around and tell my 2 boys I would love to be cremated. And I want to spend 6 months with this one, and then he's going to hand me over to the next son for the next 6 months, but alternate holidays because I have to be fair and be with each one on a holiday. And they just smile and said, no, that's not going to happen. But I would love to have my celebration when I come back November 2nd, one of these years, seeing people in my family having a good time, laughing, telling stories of dumb things I have done, and reminiscing of the holidays, enjoying the good food. I know there'll be lasagna or some sort of sauce meal there, because that's my favorite. And desserts, lots of chocolate, playing cards, and just having a good time. So please tell your family what you would like on your altar and what kind of foods and drinks you would like for them to bring back for your soul on November 2nd. Now I'm going to hand over the meeting to David Licata.
Good morning. Can you hear me? but I can't hear you. That's weird. But that's okay, as long as you can hear me. All right, our first evaluator, Larry McKenzie. Kudos, Larry, for gingering up as fast as you could that amazing picture of the American Falls with no water. And I was a student down the street at the time at the good old Nabisco Tech. So we were very conscious of the fact that there was no water going over the falls. You gave the speaker kudos for his creativity, and indeed, our guest this morning was incredibly creative, and he was theatrical. So I enjoyed that. That was a great job. And you gave him good advice and good ideas about vocal variety and pace. But you kind of double clutched at the end, Larry, where you were going from what you liked about the speech, how the speech could be improved, and what you loved about the speech. So the ending was interspersed, with highlights and things that needed improvement. But other than that, it was a very, very fine evaluation. Jill opened with a solid statement and immediately connected with the speaker. She told us what she had in common with the speaker, which gave her evaluation gravitas. So that was nice as well. And she had good advice about the mic. And I'm glad she caught that, because I caught that as well. Just need that microphone just a little bit farther from your mouth, Tracy. Just probably a little tiny micro something, because it was just a little too close and you sound a little bit muffled. But also Jill finished by telling Tracy what she loved about the speech. Samir, that was a very nice opening with praise. And it was so clever of you that she gave that dynamite quote about a pathless woods, and you pumped up a background of a pathless woods. Now, I don't even care if it was a coincidence. It was still terrific. Good job, Samir. And you had good advice about improvements, and it's tough to give our Jen improvements, but you managed to do that, and that's always important. And the fact that you highlighted the eggs and custard portion of her speech, that was very done as well. Now we'll get on to the Toastmaster of the day. I want to first point out that, Sylvia, you were a little bit more centered today in your shot. That was very nice. And I want to mention how enthusiastic you were. And you were having fun, and your sense of fun went through the camera and came out into all our, as I like to call it, Studio A, Studio B, or whatever your room you're in when you're Zooming. And you gave us plenty of information about your theme. Now, you left out one important fact about November 2nd. November 2nd is my birthday, and you also forgot to mention how many shopping days are left. But that's minor.
Yes,
and because
Samir's birthday also November 2nd, just so you know, Dave.
Both of us?
So, yes.
Wow. That's awesome. But because I'm a charter member, I know of 5 that we lost. So it would be Jerry Stiles, Glenda Reardon, Eddie Bird, Willie Daniels, and another charter member, Carol McConaughey. So we want to remember them on this day. And that's all I got, and that's all that came out of my Calavera. Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster, for an excellent theme. Thank you for your enthusiasm. See, I'm not getting coffee here at home like I used to get at Tom's Diner. Enthusiasm and your sense of fun. We had a lot of fun this morning, Sylvia. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Well, but I will go through. Oh, Len, you have something? Oh, I like Len's background too. I will go through with
just applauding Dave.
Job holders. Let's start with Tom Moran with the ahs and ums.
Sorry, I should have been quicker to the microphone. I thought today's meeting went really well with the ahs and ums. I have a little piece of paper like this, and I made some other notes on it as well, other than ahs and ums. Everything went well. I am impressed with how few people are using ahs and ums, because I notice them when other people speak, non-Toastmasters in particular. And this club is doing an outstanding job with it. There was one restart, and that's, I caught David doing that when he was giving a speech, and he knows well that he did that, and he is repenting as we speak. So thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tom. Grammarian, Mike Licata, you tell us about our grammar today.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. I think that Tom was right. We are avoiding ahs and ums, but the but in there is the fact that we are replacing the filler non-words with filler words. I noticed like a lot this morning from a couple of our speakers. David Jones had one. And the other word that we're using a lot in Toastmasters is and. I know that when we speak, we think we always need to speak, but using and as a filler is one of the things we should start to listen for more is we grow in Toastmasters, because filler words can be just as bad as ahs and ums. Some of the other things I noticed, Tracy said tiniest little details. It's just tiniest details. I did like some of the verb usage today. I noticed Len used scream and supersede was great. Tracy used plummeted. And that is my report this morning. So just watch for the ands and likes and to use as filler. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Now I'm going to go to Charlie Dickens for Gesture Master. Charlie.
Took me a while to get my microphone working.
That's okay.
Anne Marie, for some reason, I think she was rocking back and forth. I think she probably was looking at there's an to see who she could call on. At our first speaker, David, he used the coin. You could see it, brought it up, and his hands and arms were, he used those during the time. At one point, he said something, and it got a reaction from some of the people I could see. They laughed or whatever. And it was voice, he had a voice changing. Tracy, voice variety. And I was tempted to say something to Tracy. Her parents were in the real estate, and it would be at dinner table, and my folks were in the monument business, and that was table topics. So all was something that came to my mind. And Jen, hands and arms, and her variety, voice variety. And again, she said something, and there was a reaction of some of the people. And Larry, used hands and arms, and Jill, was also using hands and arms, and Samir moved his head around. That's my answers here. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Now we'll start with our quiz master, or ending, I should say, near the end. Tom.
Yes, good morning. The unmute tab did not work. Okay. I tried to come up with some of the simpler questions and see if you were all paying attention. For Len, which son was born in October?
Both.
Trick question.
Trick question.
No one need to answer. Jackie, when do her cemetery break the dead with a picnic?
Memorial Day.
There's no famous answer.
Thomas, we can't hear you very well. Can you hear us?
Jackie,
Thomas, you're all garbled.
They-
Low bandwidth or something?
Right on the moment. What movie scarred?
I think we lost him.
Yes.
I think Thomas got possessed by the lady from the ring, maybe. Is she here?
You back, Thomas?
No, Thomas is.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there you are.
There he is. There we go. All right, someone either manually disconnected me or it disconnected all on its own, but I'm back.
Now we can see you.
What was your last
Okay.
question?
We can hear you.
The last question was, Chris Lloyd talked about a movie that scarred him horribly in his youth.
The Ring.
Ring. Yes, that was a scary movie. Paranormal creature you can't stop. Ooh. And drowns you? I don't like drowns.
Hey, no spoilers.
Oh. Okay, so it's very good.
I need to talk to Jackie.
3 more questions. 3 more questions.
Fire.
Okay. For Tracy, where did Tracy first seek a life after school?
New York City.
New York City, that's correct. Jen, how much further did you walk on a daily basis?
100%. 200.
Half a mile. That's a long way on it every single day. Woo. And then, as a joke, what was the length of Larry's speech? I'm going to say check the tape tonight when he gets up on YouTube.
2:35.
Because there's discrepancy. And I think that we may find that nobody was right. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay. Margot, how did our word of the day? I know it petered out a little, but
A little bit, but up front it was quite well used. We had, of course, our table topics. Sylvia used it, Tom, Mike, Gerald, Tracy snuck it in there during her speech, and Dave used it as well. So as you think about the Day of the Dead on Sunday, think about your sugar skulls or your calavera. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
You're welcome. I don't have any way of knowing who won. Larry, do you know who won?
I have it.
Eric does.
I have it.
Is it? Okay.
Before I get to that, Sylvia, I'm going to ask our guests for their feedback, and I'll start with Chris Lloyd Davis.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. what a wonderful meeting once again. I've been here once before and I really was eager to come back, and I'm really pleased I had this opportunity to do so today, to see your fantastic meeting and learn from you all again. And it was even more convenient because I'm only 4 hours ahead for this week only, not 5 hours ahead, because our clocks went back on the 25th of October. So really, really happy I was able to make today's meeting. And thank you all once again for the very warm welcome, for your generous hospitality. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. We hope you join us again next week. And David, how did you enjoy our meeting today?
It was very good, and I liked Larry's attention to detail by putting the empty falls behind them. I think that was an interest. I didn't know about it till I did the research, and it's an incredible feat that the engineers did. So I appreciate that picture for everyone to see. Thanks.
Thank you, David. And thank you so much for coming on as our guest speaker today. Al, we'd like to congratulate our winners today. Our best table topics winner is, congratulations to Chris Lloyd Davis from London. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Our best evaluator is Samir Rahman. Congratulations to Samir. And our best speaker today is our guest speaker, David Jones from Queen City. Congratulations to Dave. Are there any final announcements from the floor this morning?
I have an announcement.
Go ahead, David.
Even though she's not here and she left the meeting early, Marilyn Beam did win Split Club again.
For our guests, we used to do Split Club in person, and Marilyn would win all the time.
How much was it today, Dave?
Yeah, well, it was another embarrassing $3. 30 people at a meeting, and the winner goes home with about $3. Now let's shape up if we ever get back to Tom's.
You sure it wasn't
We
that?
should-
You
we
sure it
should
wasn't a
probably just
penny?
mail her a check.
Yeah.
Social hours tonight. Oh, what was that, Larry?
Well, it's a drink chip for Attitudes Bar.
It's still open?
It is.
I
Not that I would.
wanted to mention this article we saw in the Saturday Evening Post. It's a little jumping seasons, but here's, you probably can't see it well, but it's Santa with a lucky strike saying it's easy on his throat in 1935. And this one was from 1958. Jack Benny was giving all his friends some lucky strikes for Christmas. How times have changed.
All right. Now you know what this is your fault because you held up the pictures of the ads with the lucky strikes. You'll notice the package is green.
Wartime.
Why did they switch to white?
I don't know.
They changed to
But
red.
Their slogan was Lucky Strike Green has gone to war, because the government needed the green paint for the tanks and the jeeps and everything else.
Wow.
It's like having breakfast with Cliff Clavin, isn't it?
I don't know how a human brain could possibly hold all of that trivia, David.
Actually, they also had a it was, what was it? LSMFT.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco.
Right.
That's that's the polite way.
Mark, Dave can hold all of that knowledge there because he can't hold concentration at golf.
Oh.
Ooh.
All right, I'm going to try to adjourn the meeting. Next week's Toastmaster is Marty Johnston, and I bet he'll have a theme for next week. And stick around for Post Toasties, and Social Hour is tonight. And I wish everybody a happy Halloween and have a great and safe weekend. Thank you so much.
And get out and vote.
And vote.
Thank you, Eric.